Hey everybody, it's Jonah Lupton, your host of Startup Sense, back with another episode. Once again, we have a fantastic guest with us. It is Safwan Shah, the co-founder of PayActiv. They're a company based on the West Coast. They've raised about $9 million, have about 20 employees, and they're doing some pretty cool stuff. Safwan, how are you today?
Very good, Jonah.
So you are calling us from where? San Jose?
I am actually in San Jose, heart of Silicon Valley.
Okay, cool. That's where the company's based?
That is correct.
I assume is it a little bit cheaper in San Jose than Silicon Valley?
Well, it is Silicon Valley, right?
Oh,
We
it
are
is. Okay.
2 miles, 2 miles from Apple headquarters.
Oh, wow. Okay. I thought it was farther away than that. Okay. I've actually never been out there, so I got to get out there.
Oh, really?
No,
We should get you here.
Mind blowing because I feel like 80% of my guests are based in Silicon Valley or San Fran area. So I got to get out there and start meeting these people. Before we start talking about your company, and I love what you guys are doing, can you just tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yes, certainly. So I'm Safwan Shah, and by training, I'm an engineer, and I have a master's and a PhD in electrical and aerospace engineering. And in my career, I've worked as a scientist. And for the last almost 15, 18 years, I've been in financial services and payment systems. And my current work is around delivering a benefit to low-income employees through employers. We call it a financial wellness benefit. And as we go deeper into the conversation, I'll describe more about it. But that's my background. In addition to being an engineer and an entrepreneur, I call myself an accidental entrepreneur because I got into it because I couldn't find a job. I'm also, about 7-8 years ago, I temporarily retired, thinking that I'll never have to work again or never want to work again, so to say. But this idea that I'll talk about later came along. So I became a part-time faculty. So I taught at the School of Business at Berkeley, Haas School of Business. I also teach at the University of California in Santa Cruz in the Baskin School of Engineering. So these are my teaching, entrepreneurship, science. These are my interests.
So you're still teaching and running the company?
So I teach once a year these days.
Okay.
So I'll take a class which is of interest. I often teach innovation or something related to technology and computing and science.
Gotcha. So let's talk about PayActiv. The company was started when?
So we officially started in 2013, to be exact, May 2013.
And what does the company do?
So specifically, what we do is we help low-income employees. And when I say low income, I mean people making $25 an hour or less. Others as well use our service, but that's the market we target. And we let employees access their earned but unpaid wages and a portion thereof, up to $500, when they get into financial emergencies. This helps them avoid all the challenges of payday loans and a variety of other fees and penalties that they have to pay. So we help low-income employees deal with life issues.
Now, I've heard that 70 to 80% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck. Is that pretty close to accurate?
It is actually very close to accurate. And if you allow me, I'll give you some perspective in terms of numbers. So the US population is about 30 million people. And there are about 140 million people who are employed in the US. And there are about 120 million families in the US. And a family in the US is 2.5 times, that's a household.
Okay, right.
And the median salary in the US for a household is around $50,000, which means that half of the households, 60 million households, are living in less than $50,000 a year. And these families are, of course, working, single person working, both members working. So that's the structure. So you can imagine that in this environment where a single household in the US has debt of somewhere between $10,000 to $15,000 that they're paying interest on every year. So they've taken that much credit, and a variety of external issues have exacerbated the problem, like the 2009 meltdown and et cetera, the housing crisis. So people are really in financial stress, and half of the population is in that situation at all times. And that is the market, which is in, we discussed things like income inequality, et cetera. So that's the market. And we help them deal with these financial stress issues with a very novel concept.
So what is that concept? I mean,
in a nutshell, Jonah, we work every day, or if we are working, we typically work every day, and we earn some money every day, correct?
Right.
So, however, we are paid either bi-weekly or monthly or weekly. So that means our salary or our wages are kind of banked with the employer in the form of hours. So the employer is like an entity which is banking our hours, and every 2 weeks we get access to our money. In that period of 2 weeks, I could make a statement that why is it that millions of people are giving a 1 week or 2 week loan to the employer?
Exactly.
Is that necessary? But why is it that way? So for a moment, setting that aside, what PayActiv does is it goes to the employer and offers them a financial wellness benefit and says that, Mr. Employer, Mr. HR, Miss HR, your employees are under severe financial stress. And if you look around your place of business, let's say it's a factory, let's say it's a large retailer, and there will always be some shops which would say payday loan or checks cashed here. And wherever there are people working and low income, that is where these businesses sprout. So your employees are obviously taking money from a payday lender. And employers say, yes, we know that because it's a challenge. And that stress comes back into their work. And it impacts productivity, retention of employees. So we say to those employers that we will let your employees access what they have already earned from us. So essentially, we make access to your wages real time.
So how does it work? Now, you work with the HR departments, and
yes. So everyone who runs a business has payroll, has HR, and payroll is some kind of computer system where whatever hours anybody has worked, those hours are then calculated, tabulated, their pay rates, etc., and they're given a check or a bank transfer on payday. Between the time that they get paid, there is a huge cost of waiting for pay, because pay is a staggered process. Life is real time. So when they're waiting for pay, they end up into a need for $100, $200, whatever, small needs. These are financial shocks. Car breaks down, somebody is sick. Those people then don't have access to the money, although they have already earned the money. It's their money. So we work with the payroll system and with their time and attendance system. So we know how many hours somebody has worked through our technology. And we then, based on those hours, let an employee access a portion of money that they've already earned. It is never a loan. It's not credit. It's their money. We've just accelerated it. We've just changed the velocity of how you access your wages. And that is how we work. And then on the payday, which may come a week later, 5 days later, whenever the person accesses their own money, that amount is deducted from salary.
Gotcha. Okay. Right. So all the people that have these miscellaneous expenses that pop up in their life, maybe something went wrong with the car, the refrigerator broke, their pet has to go to the veterinarian, and they don't have $500 sitting in their bank account to pay for that stuff. That's where they can access their unpaid wages through their employer.
That is correct. And so we become a means for the employer to retain staff. Some would say it increases happiness of the employees, because this is the biggest stress point in their lives. And that stress they bring to work. But now when they have access to their own money, they can kind of go in an on-demand lifestyle, right, Jonah? We are now in an on-demand, real-time world. Whether it's media like Netflix, we consume it on demand. News, we consume it on demand. Then why is it that access to our wages is a batch process, a staggered process rooted in, whatever medieval time practices?
This is Jonah Lupton, founder of the Lupton Group and host of the Startup Sense podcast. Are you struggling to find the right tech team to build your company's website or mobile app? Maybe you've developed a product but need help with your go-to-market strategy, including branding and marketing. Well, stop worrying, because my team at the Lupton Group can assist you with all of those needs. We specialize in helping entrepreneurs and startups of all sizes launch and grow their businesses. For a free consultation, you can email me at jonahlupton@gmail.com or visit our website at luptongroup.co. Now, let's talk about, personally, back in 2007, I was kind of a victim of the payday loan market when, I was in finance. I was bootstrapping my first startup, and I had to go to a payday loan company I think it was $500 or $1,000 because I had to pay, I had some bills to pay, related to my startup. And, I got just cremated on the interest rates, and I didn't realize how hard it was to pay it off. I thought it was more like a loan, but it's really not. So how big is this payday loan market? Because I know that's it's evil, it's sinister, and I'm just glad that you guys are kind of providing an alternative. But how big is that market?
So the current size of the market, and this is a study that came out maybe a week ago, so it's very new. So it's people across the U.S. Access about $35 to $40 billion every year.
That's crazy.
From payday lenders.
Jesus.
And they pay about $8 billion in fees for that.
Wow.
And this money is usually outstanding for about 2 weeks or one pay cycle, let's say. So so interest rates, or what we call implied APR, is quite high, and average APR is somewhere between 300 to 500% on the average. However, you could end up paying 3 to 6 times the amount you actually borrowed.
Right. I think that's what happened to me. I think if I borrowed $500, by the time it was fully paid off, I probably paid at least 3 to 4 times what I had originally, taken from them.
So what is, Jonah, what is actually very remarkable here, and it will be interesting for, I think, your listeners as well as yourself. So this is the payday market, and payday market also has a component in addition to itself, which is the anticipation fees. You remember the H&R Block and places like that where you get and fill out your taxes. And let's say you have a few $100s that are going to come back to you from IRS. So that entity will give you that money for a very high interest rate. Those are called refund anticipation loans. The entity which is giving you the loan is, guaranteed to get the money because it's coming from the government, let's say. However, you wanted it today. You can't wait for a month or 3 weeks. So there is a huge fee for that. So that market altogether is lumped together with payday loans and anticipation fees. And they are $8 billion with about $45 billion as principal taken. However, what is the most interesting aspect of it is that is the tip of the iceberg. There is another thing called overdraft fees. And Jonah, have you been hit by overdraft fees?
I was just going to get into that because, yes, I've gotten cremated by overdraft fees in a couple cases, and I've done research, and that market is 35 or 40 billion a year too, right?
That is exactly $25 billion.
Crazy, insane.
And who gets that? An overdraft fee, and you're right, the 37 is the average dollar amount they charge you if you are a penny short or a second late.
Yep.
And that is charged disproportionately, as you'd expect, on the low-income people.
Oh, of course, right.
And so when people argue that, hey, why are people in America not opening bank accounts? Or why is it that, 20 million people don't have a bank account, or they're underbanked and they have names for it, underserved, underbanked, etc. The reason is they've been squeezed out of the banking system because the banking system has probably charged them a few overdraft fees and they can no longer open an account.
So think about those two markets. The payday loan market and the overdraft fee market is about $80 billion a year.
That's coming the amount accessed. So if for a moment,
out of the pockets of low-income people.
So let me give you some more numbers here, because I think so. Let's say the payday loan industry was about $35-40 billion, and the fees charged were $8 billion. Overdraft fees are $25 billion, just the fees. And the amount that was at risk when you got hit by overdraft. So, Jonah, let's say you had a bill that was due on the 2nd, and on the 3rd, when the payment was received by them, let's say the bill was for $7. Let's say, that's for the sake of argument. A bank overdraft can be for a penny even. So that's $25 billion, and we have no idea what the amount was at risk, probably not very much. Then there is another fee that is charged. If you have a bank balance less than $1,500 or $1,000, the banks charge you a bank account fee per month.
Right, like a monthly fee, yeah.
And then many people do not have bank accounts, so they go and print a money order at a 7-Eleven, etc. It's $1 for a money order. They pay a bill for 50 cents. Those fees alone in the US are $10 billion a year.
Wow, that's crazy. Yeah, I think these markets are bigger than people realize. I mean, and I only because I came out of finance and I worked for some large banks, Wall Street banks. I've known these numbers for a long time. I don't think the average American has any idea how big they are.
So just for their benefit, let me list them. Let's list a few of these numbers. So we got the $8 billion for payday, we got the $25 billion for overdraft, the $10 billion for bank accounts and various small financial products like money orders, etc. That's $10 billion. Then you must have seen these auto malls where you go and buy a car, and there are usually many car dealers there. And there's always this thing that no credit check, we'll give you a car. So there are these auto loan places which sort of, you buy here and get a loan here from also. So let's say you're buying a 6-year-old car, it's about a $5,000 car. You don't have enough credit to get a bank loan. So they will give you a loan to buy the car. These are called buy here, pay here loans. And this is only for the low income people. And that is $43 billion a year.
Wow. Jesus, that big? Now, I mean,
Yes.
those are very high interest loans, right?
Correct. They're certainly above the 3-4% that we pay for auto loans.
Right.
So you can, take your boat there, your motorbike, any possession that you have. These are subprime auto and buy here, pay here fees. That's $43 billion just in fees. And then many states in the US have actually banned payday loans.
Oh, good.
And like Georgia has banned them. Quite a few states have. However, what that caused is the emergence of a title loan industry, where you take the title of anything that you have and give it to them. So they own they're holding on to the title of your possession, and they'll give you $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 against the title. So it's kind of, the pawn businesses where they hold the product, the jewelry or the watch, and the title businesses where you have possession of the product, but they hold the title. That's a $27 billion a year industry.
Jesus.
So now, and I'll tell you the total in the end. I won't ask you or anyone else to add it up together. There's another category. So what happens is that the average person in the US, some of them have credit cards. Yes, they've been maxed out, etc. But one would wonder, what is the average debt that a card holder has in the US on their credit card? Turns out it's somewhere between $4,000 to $5,000. This is the average amount that people have. I mean, many people pay their balance in full, so they're not paying anything.
Right.
The fees, the interest rate on those balances, so assume a 20% interest rate. So everyone who has a credit card with $4,000 to $5,000 balance is paying close to $1,000 a year in just interest. The principal is not being touched, because it's 20% of 5,000 is about $1,000 a year.
Most of the people that are carrying $4,000 to $5,000 in credit card.
That is correct. Individually,
are also the same people that are living paycheck to paycheck.
That is correct, because they use the credit card to make ends meet. So that's why I said what's visible is payday loans, but the demand for people is from a variety of sources. They're using credit cards, they're using title loans, they're using subprime loans. So the credit card interest paid by the low-income people in the US, we've estimated it at about $25 billion a year.
Now let's kind of shift gears and talk about the business. So In terms of funding, you guys have raised money from some, very well-known investors. I know you've gone through. You guys were also part of a plug and play accelerator, right?
We were, yes. We are part of that ecosystem.
So when did that happen? When were you part of plug and play?
About 2 years ago, when we, in the early days of the company, we were identified as a disruptor or whatever, and we were in the fintech group at Plug and Play, and it's a great program. We were part of it, and really, it continues to be a great source for connections and introductions for us.
Awesome. Well, who are some of the other investors that you guys have raised money from?
So the big name that is there is SoftBank Capital,
right?
And then there are some very well-known but anonymous investors in the company who believe that what we are doing is incredibly important.
Is SoftBank Capital part of the large Japanese-based SoftBank tech company?
That is correct.
Okay. So what have they been able to do for you in terms of, adding value? Are they bringing this product to, their clients or to Asia? I mean, what was the fit there?
I mean, it's a combination thereof. I think the original thesis was that this is an idea whose time has come, that like everything else is becoming on demand and real time, the access to wages, that trend is there. And so they do a lot of these strategic investments to see if particular ideas take off, because we are like an Uberization of payroll. So that was the spirit, and there is a lot of help. The name is a big help, of course, and then of course every now and then when we meet people, there are connections that are made, which in the long term are always helpful.
So we've talked about the market size. Certainly we understand why you started the company. How has it been over the last 2 years? What has the journey been like from startup to where you guys are now?
So the journey has 3 phases to it. The first phase was, in many cases, there was disbelief that would employers really be interested in solving this problem, because there's this old sort of conventional wisdom that employer doesn't want to get involved in the employee's financial affairs, so to say. However, so the first phase was to kind of reach out to employers who are early adopters. And so that was the first phase. The second phase was that we had some early adopters, and there was 1 year of data of how the value was accruing towards the employee as well as to the employer, because the big question mark was, what's in it for the employer? Let's say the employee is able to access the money. What is it in for the employer? The data was astounding. What turned out is, and this we did over a period after 1 year in a hospital with large number of employees using the service for 1 year. It turned out that their biggest cost in the business was replacement cost of skilled employees, that they would quit the job or go and find a job for a few cents more per hour. And they discovered that the retention of employees who had this service was 30% higher. They would not leave.
Wow.
And
that's a big number.
Yeah. So this was huge. And employers, the way they see these expenses of replacement of an employee is about 8 to 12 weeks of salary. If let's say your facilities person or a guard or a hospital assistant, when they quit, a new person has to be retrained.
Right.
And there's a lead time for that. So there was an enormous saving, which is 8 to 12 weeks of salary per employee that was leaving. So when the retention rate was improved and turnover was improved so much, the employers saw the economic value of our service. And in many employers, more than 50% of the employers that we are working with started paying the flat $5 fee that was charged. So now for an employee, the cost of the service became zero.
So is that still today? So
yes, most employees were able to access their earned wages for no cost because the employer pays for it.
So the employer is only paying $5 for an employee to access their money?
Yes, only when they use it.
Wow, that sounds like a pretty decent deal.
Yes.
How else do you guys make money? I mean, do you charge the company some sort of a a setup fee for all of this?
There's no, all the technology has already been built by us. We have a very sophisticated, almost an intelligent platform, which works with every payroll system in the country.
Wow.
And every time and attendance system. So the technology has the hooks and the plugs into major payroll systems, etc. The employer simply has to announce that employees, this is a new wellness benefit available for you. They download a mobile app from both Google Play or Apple Store. And the moment they download the app, they have a wealth of services on the app. They can access the cash that they have earned. They can pay their bills then and there. No cost for paying bills.
Jeez, wow.
So imagine that you're working for a company. They allow you this service. Let's say you earn $500 every week. You have access to $250 anytime, as long as you have earned it. And you can pay your bills right from there. You can pay your AT&T bill or whatever. You can pay your landlord. And you can avoid another form of very difficult stress creator, which is late fees. And for low-income people, rent is their biggest cost. And every day they are late on rent, they end up paying $25 a day or something like that. So we can help them avoid that. We also give them discount services for prescription drugs and so on. Like we're not in the spend side of the equation. We're not asking them where to spend the money. That's not our gig. Our gig is on the source, the earn side. We are innovating how you earn. Everybody else is innovating how you spend.
Now let's talk about the customer acquisition, or in this case, I guess business, because it's B2B. So how are you finding these companies? What's the sales process? Is it outbound calls? Is it conferences? Is it paid marketing? SEO? What channels have you guys had the most success with?
So we've tried a lot of different channels, and now we know exactly what works. Bulk of it is inbound. The demand is so high and so palpable that people actually fill out forms on our website. Companies as large as with 30,000 employees have filled out forms in our website.
They're finding you? Are they finding you through Google searches or?
So they're finding us through. So here's how they are finding us. We won in May. We won early part of this year. We were declared the best fintech product, best in class at Finovate, which is the big financial services fintech conference, and we were declared best in class, voted by the audience. Like a couple of thousand people voted, and we won that, which led to a lot of media and press, which kind of got the word out about what we are doing. So that has been one source of inbound. Then in about 3 months ago, we were declared the HR product of the year. We won the award at HR, the biggest HR conference in the country called HR Tech. So these awards and recognition has a very powerful way of establishing a company. I know it's not a traditional way. You have to do a lot of things in addition, but this has been the reason that inbound has been powerful. The second thing that we have been successful in is that we've built alliances. We work with banks, we work with credit unions. Jonah, I realized early on that this is a cause-driven, mission-driven, purpose-driven business. That when we tell people what we are doing, the remarkable thing is they want to help us. And I know it's not a paradigm that I would ever, think of teaching even. It's sometimes the service you provide has so much legitimacy that people start helping us. So we are actually flooded with inquiries and requests to work with these people with small offices, 4 people, a hospital, a dentist's office that I have employees that are in stress. Can you help us?
And there's really nothing else out there. The payroll companies don't have any product like this?
No, they don't, because payroll companies' entire business is predicated on first they get access to the funds, and then they pay the employees. So think of a payroll company as like an ATM machine. First you deposit money with us, and then I'll pay your employees.
Gotcha.
And they make their money on issuing the payroll checks. So if somebody wants it on demand, so let's say some person decides that instead of getting paid every 2 weeks, I'll access it every week. So that means they've made their pay cycle weekly, right? From going from 2 week to week. So a payroll company would say, I want, whatever, $5 per each payroll cycle. So it's going to cost the business $250 a year per employee.
Talk about what metrics do you look at on a daily basis to kind of determine the health of your company and how fast you guys are growing? Is it how many times an employee uses the service? What KPIs do you like?
Yeah, great question. So the number one thing that we look at is employee satisfaction. Every transaction involves a survey. At the end of it, 2 or 3 things we ask. What did you access the money for? Was it to avoid an overdraft, avoid a late fee, pay off a payday loan? So we ask that, and we are ascertaining what is driving them towards accessing their own money. That's number one thing. Number 2 thing is we have a star system, like a net promoter score, and employees have to rank us every transaction.
Wow.
So on a 5-star system, we are close to 5. We are a 4.93, which is incredible. And a net promoter score is where you have a 0 to 10 ranking system, and you only count the 9s and 10s, and you drop the 7 and 8s, and you include the 1 to 6, and you subtract basically the net promoter score is subtracting detractors from promoters. And we have an incredibly high net promoter score in the high 80%. For an FYI, Southwest Airlines and Apple are in this 66 to 70%.
I mean, because it's obviously you guys like to get feedback. I mean, which is fantastic.
We want feedback. Anytime we get a 1 or a 2, we pick up the phone and call that person. We ask, how can we serve you better?
These employees are smart enough to know, right? I mean, they're smart enough to know that you're saving them a lot of time and money and stress and aggravation.
And it turned out, and as we did that, because it's a moment in our company when we see something like that in the star rating. So we call them, we communicate with them, and usually it is because they needed more money than we could allow them.
What's the biggest challenge to closing sales with companies? Is it just the length of the sales process, or
so there's 2 challenges.
Integration?
One is there is a conventional sort of thinking around paternalism, that if I let a person access their money, would they dig a bigger hole in them? Because people don't really understand that we are not giving them a loan.
Right.
We are letting them have their own money. So it takes some time for people to understand. In many ways, our challenge has not been they understand the product and the service. It is just we like to judge others. That's the challenge. And just like when Uber came out, a lot of people didn't use it, that I'm not going to sit in a car which is driven by some guy, some kid who's in college. I don't know what he'll do. And it's but we got over it. Same thing with Airbnb. We got over it. Yeah. So we are one of those unique models where some conventional wisdom is challenged. So that's the biggest, one of the big things. The second big thing is the time it takes. People don't realize how much of the technology we have automated so that it's, within hours you could go live. So these are the 2 things we have to explain to our buyers, prospects, customers.
And I guess the employee never really has to deal with PayActiv, right? They're just dealing with HR and the website and the mobile app.
Yeah, so the only time they deal with PayActiv is when HR announces to them that here's a service, and they enroll with PayActiv through a mobile app.
Because you guys are very lean, right? You're only like 20 employees.
Yes, so and some contracting people, but they just download an app and that's it. It's like you've been told by somebody that there's something called Snapchat. You download it and start using it. That's the user experience.
So where do you guys go from here? I mean, obviously you've raised a lot of money from some very great investors. You're starting, how often are you signing up new clients? Is it like daily, weekly?
It's become daily.
Awesome. Okay. And then what's the onboarding process for them? Do you guys have, I mean, I know you said that you have a lot of inbound marketing, but do you have a sales team at PayActiv that, works with
Yes,
these clients to bring them on?
it's more of a say field support team,
Okay.
field operations, field support, and inside sales, and both of them work in concert. And many employers, their HR and departments get involved because they want to deal with their own employees. And we go ahead and send the material to them to distribute to their employees.
How much time do you guys spend going after the Fortune 500 companies?
Now we are spending a lot of time because now all the wrinkles in the product have been taken out. There's enormous data to show the two big value propositions. How is it useful for the employer? How much do they save? Employers have expenses without an invoice, right? Turnover, attracting talent. These are expenses without an invoice. So we have now quantified all those expenses that this is your saving. And that's number one thing we do. And the number with the big Fortune 500 companies, they want to know data. Like, why is it working for others? Because there is a leap of understanding because the idea is new. And for employees, we show them how employees use it and why it benefits them. The moment they understand that, then the process begins of integration and go live.
What types of, I mean, we've already gone through some of the numbers, as a country, how many people are living under $50,000 or living paycheck to paycheck. How do you relate that to a specific company? Like, if you have a company like General Electric, right, where they have, 100,000 employees, whatever it might be, all over the country, is there any way to try to predict how many of those employees may be under financial stress or living paycheck to paycheck?
Yes, it is very easy to predict that. In the US, the alternative financial service industry, which is disproportionately, the fees are paid by the sub $50,000 a year employees, are about $140 billion altogether in the year. That means if you have 100 employees in the company, 35% of the employees are paying those fees. It is as simple as that. So if I walk into a Walmart today, I can, right now on your podcast, I can say that Walmart's 66% of their employees are under severe financial stress, waiting for pay. The cost of waiting for your biweekly pay is the reason that there are $150 billion a year paid in these fees. And the worst thing we can do in such an environment is to give more loans to people because they already have the money. It's just the timing is off.
Correct. Right.
Right. You see
right. They've already earned it. They just haven't been paid out on it yet.
Yeah. If they've earned it and they need it, let them access it. It's theirs. It's like you stopping someone from eating food when they are starving for a day.
So what does the future look like for PayActiv? Do you guys think you're gonna, and I know this is a loaded question, do you think you'll remain independent, or is this really a perfect acquisition for an ADP or a Paychecks?
So Jonah, I kind of just don't think that way. My entire the culture we are building and the thought process here is that we have to take this service to a few million people in the US and the 2.5 billion people in the world who are riddled with these cost of waiting, and they have money earned. So in this journey, if we get an opportunity to work with some great companies who want to automate this part of the industry, then we are all for it. But I would not be able to say to you that we are not born to be bought. We are born to change the world.
Right, that's fair. I think every good entrepreneur wants to build a business to be independent, and then if something else happens to change that down the road, then so be it.
Yeah, and the sheer sort of impact and of seeing people benefiting from your product is transformative for our employees, for our customers, because you give something which actually helps them. We rarely get such opportunities in life.
What is so far, what's been the single best piece of advice that you've gotten from any of your investors, or single best introduction that any of them has made for you?
Single best advice that I always get and I always give is focus, 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 and have a purpose to a business. So that's the advice. It's always like focus on the exact problem that you solve and do it very well. And what was the other question?
Or the single best introduction, because I mean, I'm sure that's part of the reason that you want to work with certain investors, because they may have expertise in your particular industry and they can make good introductions for you. So I think
the single biggest introduction, and I don't know if it will be, it may be the single biggest and best introduction, is to the largest company in this country, which is not Apple. So that introduction was made
by employees. It's Walmart, right? I mean, I think they have like 2 million employees, if not more than that. So
that is correct.
Well, that's awesome, man. That's the holy grail for sure. That's pretty exciting. Are you guys currently hiring right now? And if so, where are you hiring?
So yes, we are in the process of expanding our business development and alliances. And that is the area where we think, because we need to reach thousands of employers, and we need to build the alliances for that, whether it is through channels, banks, benefit companies. So that area is where we are investing.
So if someone had a lot of introductions to HR directors, that could be a valuable addition.
That is correct. That is correct.
Perfect. Yeah. I mean, I think I might know a couple people, and if I wanted to help or anybody else wanted to help, your company grow and get into other companies, what should they do? Should they go to your website and
absolutely. Our website is quasi-educational, quasi-informative. We are literally, giving out advice and education about what we are doing and how it helps people. So read that, send us an email, contact me, contact anyone in our company. And if you know some employees or a business owner who has employees, because you will be doing them a big, big favor because that's what employers say to us. Where were you? Why we didn't know about this?
Right. And I think what's funny is, I mean, even in Silicon Valley, right, where people get paid a lot of money, some of them are still living paycheck to paycheck because it's so expensive to live there.
That is very important point, because many people, when we say they're living paycheck to paycheck, are doing so because they're allocating a portion to savings also, let's say, for the sake of, not judging anyone. And they just want to live within the money they are earning every week. So if you allow that money to be accessible to them, they will be able to manage their cash flow better. Right, Jonah? Every business knows that timing of cash is the fuel on which a business runs. Then why is it that individuals in this country have to adopt practices which have no basis? There is no character that you build by waiting to get paid. You only build pain and angst and stress.
Yeah. Other than PayActiv, what is your favorite piece of software or web-based service that you use on a daily basis to help run the company?
Well, it's our analytics engine that I use the most every day. And our analytics engine is built upon, the concepts of what Google has taught us about analytics. So that I spend inordinate amount of time immersing myself into the minds of our employers who use us and the minds of our users through that analytics. So there are many products, of course, that we all use, like Microsoft products, etc. But we've built an analytics engine ourselves after years of understanding this industry, which allows us to...
What are you analyzing? What are the analytics? What type of data is coming out of there?
Everything from how many seconds a person spends looking at our app, what they do with it, how they navigate through it. We take feedback from them, how they pay their bills, who they pay their bills to, why do they pay certain amounts. We give them guidance. We help them on managing their cash flow better. So a variety of things we are doing with that.
And how much of that is seeable by the employer? Does the employer know which employees are using the service and how much they're taking? how often.
Employers don't get involved in that for obvious reasons.
Right. I would hope so. Yeah. For
It's
privacy.
like a health benefit, right? They
Right.
give a health benefit and it's very protected, and no employer has indicated. They just see they want to detect, are they attracting better talent? Are they improving productivity? Those they track with productivity tools. And is there turnover or retention showing the difference? Like if their turnover was 50%, then after a year with PayActiv, is it now 30% or 20%? That's
Right.
what they track.
That's value for them for sure. Last question: if you could be mentored by anybody, who would it be?
Quite a few people, living or dead.
Names.
Would you like living people or dead people?
Let's go with living.
I think Peter Thiel would be nice.
Yep, I agree.
0 to 1, fantastic book. And I think that would be one. Then another one would be, I don't know if you've heard of this book, Thinking Fast and Slow.
No, I haven't. Who's that from?
Daniel Kahneman.
Okay. What is that book
Nobel
about?
Laureate. And it talks about behaviorally when you talk to somebody, or when our the algorithmic brain is the one that takes longer to process anything versus the instinctive brain. So Thinking Fast and Slow. So that's a great book, and I recommend it to everyone.
Fantastic. Well, I guess that's we'll end it there. It's been a wonderful episode. I really want to thank you for coming on and sharing all this great advice with us. Any parting words from you?
No, I want to thank you, Jonah. Thank you for what you're doing, and thrilled to be part of this episode, and good luck in your endeavors.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I'm excited to see where you guys go from here. And I can already think of a few HR directors I want to introduce you guys to. So I'll make those introductions in the next few days.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Continued success. Talk to you soon.
Thank you. Bye-bye.